All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 247. Today, I have a very special guest with me, my friend, Heidi Dellaire. Hi, Heidi.
Hello, Erin,
It's
and
so,
all listeners.
yes, it's so fun to have you here talking about your new book, Roots and Tendrils, which comes out actually the day the day after this episode will air. So it will come out on March 22nd. But after our conversation, if you feel inspired to grab a copy, you can do it on March 21st because it is available for pre-order. So, Heidi, why don't you tell my listeners a little bit about what makes you who you are?
What makes me who I am? I would say my heart makes me who I am. But,
Mm,
um, I love all things nature and people. So my heart makes me who I am. But what I do, I'm an alternative healthcare practitioner, which involves massage, Reiki. I'm also an Ayurvedic practitioner, intuitive healer of sorts. And I'm also the managing and publishing editor of LoveWideOpen.com and Love Wide Open on all social media channels. LoveWideOpen.com is a self-development website, is what it has turned into. And I'm very proud of that website right now, what it's offering readers. So that's just sort of the short blurb. And that I really believe in getting people out of their busy heads and kind of back into their hearts.
So important. Busy heads, my goodness. I think that our modern society just encourages us and tempts us and pushes us to be busier and busier every second, doesn't it?
Absolutely. This morning I found myself in busyness.
Yes.
And I'm like, all right, I need to go take a walk with the dog and let's kind of recoup because that felt like a train that was going to get too fast on the day.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't nature have this profound way of just slowing everything back down and bringing you peace?
Absolutely. I think it's our one way to sort of connect back to us and connect back to source, whatever you call that, right? It just allows us to really sort of slow down and kind of, I always call it like unloading what we have up here back out into the earth so that we can offload that and just be more at peace with ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that concept. And I think that the earth can tolerate receiving a lot of our busyness. It's happy to take it on and hold it for us. And then it also gives us so much benefit back. So
Yeah,
it's just a
sure.
wonderful partner.
Agreed.
So let's talk a little bit about this book,
Yeah.
Roots and Tendrils. How did it come to be born in the world?
How did it come to be born in the world? Well, let's see. Last February, no, last March, I went to visit my father in Florida, and I was on a vacation to sort of heal my heart. I had just ended a relationship, and our relationship just ended, and just sort of going through that sort of process of letting things out, letting things go, so that you can heal. Right. This was sort of my purpose of this vacation, and on the beach, on the sand, go figure, letting it out into nature and just throwing my heart to be cleansed out into the sea. And I had been doing a lot of thinking like, wow, and I've always felt that I have a book in me. I know I have a book in me. And every day that week, as I just let more and more go, one of those days just went, bing, you already have the book. You've been writing the book. And I went, wow, you're right. I have been writing the book for about 10 years.
Wow.
And so I write poetry, and sometimes I journal write that becomes poetry. And I came home and started to like dig through all of my stuff, and it was everywhere. I was in journals. It was in folded up pieces of paper, because when I get an idea, I just like write it down and I'm like, all right, it's out. And so I was finding all of these gems. And, and I pulled a few from lovewideopen.com that I had put out into the world already. And I started to assemble this piece and I'm like, oh, I think I actually have a book. And then I wrote 9, 10 more pieces in the process of a couple of months. And boom, book.
Wow. That's really a cool story. What I think I love about it so much is that you kind of were, I want to see if I can articulate this properly. You were living your purpose. Not that writing a book is your only purpose, but let's say it for now. You were kind of living your purpose just by being who you are meant to be.
Mm.
And then 10 years later, you realize that here it is. It was being gestating all along. And it kind of reminds me of a bamboo tree, which I've now heard that story twice in the past couple of months. Have you ever heard of how a bamboo tree grows?
I probably know, but tell me.
It grows underground for 5 years before the first sprout comes up. So if you want to plant a bamboo tree, you have to tend to it, water it, nourish it for 5 years before you get any result, any visible result.
Wow.
So it is growing and becoming what it is. And then, bamboo trees, or whatever, I guess they're called trees. Bamboo trees grow so fast once they sprout up.
Then they're everywhere. Yes.
Right. But 5 years is what it takes for the first little shoot to poke through the ground.
Mm.
So that kind of makes me think about you and your book.
Yeah, and isn't that just sort of relative to how we move through life too, and how we grow as people?
Mm-hmm.
We just continually plant new seeds for ourselves. We take experiences and things that come to us and hardships and joys, and we mix it all up and we plant those to become our fertilizer and our fodder for literally who we are continually becoming every single day.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. And so I think hopefully that when people hear the story of how your book came to exist, I hope it gives people some hope and some faith. Because sometimes when you're in the thick of it, in the muck of whatever it is, the messy stuff, it can feel like you can feel like there's no hope, or there's no way out, there's no resolution to this hardship you're suffering. But really, it's all part of the bigger process of your life, and there will come some resolution, some beauty on the other side of the struggle.
Yeah.
I hope that people feel hope when they hear your story.
I hope so too, because there was definitely a shift in thinking and feeling throughout this 10-year process, right? Like I got to a point where I went, wait a minute, what's the common denominator in all of this? Well, that would be me.
Mm-hmm.
And what do I need to see about myself and these different experiences that have been happening, of either they've been mirrors or they've been something to teach me to become more self-aware of that. How I love is I love big and I love all out. And you can't just love all out, because when you love all out, everything takes.
Mm.
And so when you learn to turn the valve to a two-way valve of love, of out and in and receive, you just all of a sudden go, I am worthy of all this big love I put out into the world. I'm love. I'm willing and able and want to receive my own love too.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
Right. And I think when that happens is kind of when the real healing happens.
Yes. And I love the concept of the two-way valve, because I think especially highly sensitive people can um, they put their heart out there without any protective filter on the outside, and so they give their love and their care to everyone, but then they take in the negative energy of the world around them, and it can be really hard to learn how to be the truest expression of who you naturally are as a highly sensitive person, and also not get your heart chipped away, or just take in all that negative energy around you. So finding a way to kind of give love and receive love without receiving all the negativity that's just floating out in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been the journey, right? And this is now what I do with people, both in all of my alternative healthcare, but also in just coaching sessions too now, because as a very highly sensitive person, that I've had to learn and go through this process. So this is now, these are the people who now are coming to me, these sensitives. It's like, how do I have healthy boundaries, and what does that even mean? And how do I do that without putting a complete wall around me and
Right.
shutting myself off? And I think that's the balance of learning, okay, well, as a highly sensitive person, you really can just have, I call them permeable.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, right? It's kind of like Gore-Tex. It's a permeable membrane where
Yes.
you're like the steam can leave, but the rain won't come in, and
Yes.
it allows for, I think, a more natural flow of, instead of just taking on like the dump truck of negativity. Yeah.
That's a beautiful way of looking at it. I love that. I think it's really true too. I love it. So there is one particular passage that really stood out to me, and I really loved. I mean, I loved it all, and I love the way you ordered everything. I love the journey of, like, it kind of seems like you came full circle towards the end of the book in your healing and your ability to love without giving all of yourself away. And but this one really, really jumped out at me. So I was wondering if you would be so kind as to read The Observer from page 29.
I absolutely would. And the Observer is actually what a lot of my friends call me.
Mm.
And even my mom, throughout growing up, she's like, you're an observer. You sit quietly and you just take in the world.
Mm.
And it's true. And I took it in both visually and emotionally all the time. So the Observer is, it's kind of a special piece. So thank you for choosing. The Observer. There is a heart that holds all of the answers I am seeking. Not just some commonplace heart, but my own. I used to plunge into the depths of other hearts, seeking knowledge and love, watching, listening, cataloging other people's pain and joy. I took it all on as my own, while searching for a love of my own. I lived inside a world where all I saw and felt was the outside world. The outside world became mine. I lived in a world where I felt too much. I felt it all. A bleeding empath, unable to distinguish my own feelings from those of others. I was the observer of every life and feeler of every emotion, including my own. To seek happiness and love from everything outside of me. It was all that I knew. That way of living has passed. My heart found too much heartbreak with that kind of living. My new life finds me diving headfirst and deeper into my own heart, into the unexplained chambers, into the depths of my divine, authentic, and messy self, seeking my own truth and knowledge. freedom comes with this way of living.
I love it. I think what I love so much about that poem, and what I think will resonate so much with my listeners, is I think I attract people who are seekers and people who are lifelong learners, and they want to grow and evolve as parents, but also just as people in general. And I think there's a risk for seekers to seek only that which is outside of them, just like you said in this passage. And really, the best thing that's outside of you is only going to point you back inside of yourself. That's the best advice you can find, the best guidance that's out there in the world, just to point you back to what you already know. You just forgot it.
Yeah, we did just forget it. And it's never about, I don't think, finding ourselves, because we didn't lose ourselves. We just forgot. We literally forgot because all of these things kind of cover things up with layers. And it is, we go out and we seek, and we run into situations where people that literally just push us right back into ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. So beautiful. So then there's one other part that I really love, which to me brought the whole thing home and just kind of put a pretty little bow on your book and on your journey. Well, at least your journey thus far, because we know the journey's not over. But at least in terms of the period of time that you captured in your writing in this particular book. And that is on, let's see, page 55. So if you could read that one, that would be great.
Yes, this is a little affirmation that has been on Love Wide Open, and I think also on Heidi Dellaire on Facebook, on a couple of different posters. But no, this is better. When we keep our hearts closed, we become brittle and break easily. When we open our hearts, we become soft and are able to bend to all that life brings.
So what does that mean to you?
I think it goes back to the membrane, literally, that we were discussing of, when things are hard, we can either put up a wall or we can be too soft, but to still be here and be vulnerable, and just a love that goes both ways. It allows us to ebb and flow easier in hard times. It allows us to not take things on personally, to understand what's happening in a situation, that if we're dealing with somebody who's difficult, that's their stuff. It's not mine to take on. It's not mine to fix. It's not mine to mend. And just to stay open and soft to all experiences, because everything teaches us.
So true. I love it. I think that the readers are going to absolutely love your book. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny. Like I've already had people who've had an advanced copy that they've seen it say, okay, so when is book 2 coming? And I'm like, well, I'm currently writing it. Right? Like, again, this is how the next book, I think, comes about, is that this to me was a close, like, give it, and it's my gift to myself back out into the world, and to anybody else who may connect to it. I do. I think the next chapter is already been writing itself through Love Wide Open, through all of these things. This was just a small little part.
I love it. So where can listeners find a copy of this wonderful book?
It is, you can get it on ebook on all ebook channels, and you can get it in print, Amazon internationally. You can get it everywhere on Amazon in print, and also Barnes & Noble in print, and several other online book retailers.
So basically anywhere they like to buy books, they can probably find it.
They can find it.
Awesome. So I think what I will do, because that's probably the most common, general, easy for people to find, I will post a link to your book on Amazon in the show notes. So if people want to just go and click there, they can easily find it.
Yeah, both versions come right up together when you go to Amazon and also to Barnes & Noble. So
super.
Whatever your reading preference is.
Super. So when listeners are hearing this, if they hear it on the day it's released, then Heidi's book will be available tomorrow, March 22nd. So make sure you run out and grab a copy of this. It is a delightful read. You will feel your heart expanding as you read each loving, heartfelt, emotional piece that she shares in this book. You're going to love it.
Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Heidi, for sharing this time with me and with my listeners. And that wraps up today's episode. Wherever you are in this world, I hope that you have a wide open, loving day.